Hi guys, we have already translated our videos into English several times, but my English very perfect. I will use a translator and this video about step-by-step guide on how to use a Fasol robot. Enjoy watching and big greetings from Dexman.
So let's start, of course, with an explanation for those who do not yet know what scalping is. I want to show you clearly here on this deal. Scalping is when a trader works out drawdowns and catches a very small increase from 3 to 20% growth, which happens literally in a couple of seconds. However, the DAX market is so volatile that it allows you to do this in almost every token. But in fact, you need to treat everything quite carefully, because without certain skills and knowledge, you can get very involved. Let's take a brief look at this deal in order to get an accurate understanding on what scalping is. All these transactions were made by one trader. Let's go a little lower and see that he has made 91 transactions, thereby receiving a P&L of $1,580 from him. And another of the main advantages of the scalping strategy is that you conditionally trade a token but do not scalp. You have bought it and waited for 50 or 100% growth, but due to volatility at this moment, the scalper can make a large number of transactions of several pieces each minute. 10 transactions of 10%. You will have growth of only 50% more, and he already has an income of 100%. And we see that the trader buys at the moment of a strong drawdown. But do not forget that is the second time frame, that in order to buy at this drawdown, you need to have a very high speed. Moreover, the high speed is not just your reaction, but also the work of your software. And working out these squeezes, the trader is sold when the things are bought off. So he does it all the time, buy, sell, and so on. And I have made a little mistake here, but it's not scary. He has done it a lot of times. And for example, we see that if you bought here and sold there, you would have 72% profit. At the same time, he has already worked out this whole movement 5 times. Moreover, the volatility of the token allows you to take a fairly good growth, because we see here the capitalization of 500,000 and here it's already 700,000. And one of the main points is that he has started trading essentially at 0.5 Solana, that is here $90. And each time he increased the size of his position depending on how much profit he gets. And in the end, he was already trading $1,000 entering the deal. We see clearly that he has bought for $1,083, sold for $1,135, bought for $1,084, sold for $1,122. That's a micro movement, but due to the large number, a good profit is obtained. I want to say right away that will not work to use BAL-X for such a strategy, because its transaction speed is much lower. Or if you want to achieve the same transaction speed, then you will need to pay an additional commission. But even an additional commission will not save you, because the speed of loading the BAL-X chart is much slower than the tool I will now show. And this is Fasol bot. Let's launch it. I will now talk how to set it, which tokens to select, and basically how to trade off all these movements, what dangerous moments there are and what not to do. First of all, we immediately see here that there is a token session, and here the developers took care in advance by making a selection of tokens just by volume. We need tokens that have good trading volumes and very good dynamics. Choosing here on which DAX the token for scalp should be traded, you need to choose radio. I would not recommend trading tokens from PEMFAN, since they do not have such dynamics and a very small number of tokens generally have the organics necessary for good payoffs. I usually follow volumes in 5 minutes, and it's desirable that they be at least $50,000. Of course, depending on the capitalization of the token. And if it has a capitalization of basically 1 million, then the volume of $50,000 would be not quite enough. But if the token has only recently migrated from PEMFAN to Radium, then these are the very tokens that can be worked out. But again, keep an eye on the dynamics. There are also metrics on the number of traders and what kind of liquidity. There is an audit of the token, that is how secure it is. If the token is listed immediately on Radium, you need to check its audit. Whether it has a mintable function, whether the freezy is on or off, and so on. I think you already know these parameters. And also, considering this example that I have showed you before, I do not recommend you that you trade the token when its price begins to turn around, because in this case it's very difficult to select an entry point. Of course, some use an average strategy. This is when their entry point was unsuccessful, they buy more on another drawdown. On a U-turn, you can get burned very badly, and even averaging several times, you will not reach zero. And basically I want to say that it's quite dangerous for a scalper to be in a position for more than 10 seconds. Therefore, always remember, you are scalping and the minimum profit should satisfy you. No need to sit and wait for 50, 100% and so on. This is another of the fatal mistakes of beginners. So let's go back to the bot and see what else it has here. The standard functions are there. We can log into my wallets, add a wallet or delete it. We can also make a shipment here. There is a referral account here. By the way, that's very convenient. Quick buy button. It's convenient because if you take contracts from some chats often enough, it's extremely important for you to buy it first. And accordingly, if you have set up a quick buy, you copy the contract and paste it not into the bot itself, but here I will show you this by example. And it buys very quickly. It sets up quickly and easily, and we set the priority fee depending on the workload of the market. But for quick purchase, I certainly recommend at least setting 0.01 Solana so that it would be like this. This is if you are not scalping but simply trading the token. And in principle, this bot is very convenient to use at the time of regular trading because it immediately loads the chart and you can look directly into the bot and the chart and trade and place limit orders and anything. So now let me show what functions the bot has and what settings you need to set in order to successfully scalp. Here we have opened some kind of potential token. First of all, I recommend using a line chart. Drawdowns are very clearly visible on it. We see that our task is to quickly buy off such dips, but again, you need to understand what kind of growth potentially you will have here and the rebound from this drawdown. Most scalpers use a line chart, but if you are completely uncomfortable, you can switch here to a regular candlestick chart, familiar to many. Here you can set a time frame that is convenient for you from 1 second to 60 seconds. In general, I recommend scalping on a second time frame. This graph shows it exactly. For a moment, it will be inconvenient and the very drawdowns that we need to catch will not be displayed correctly. Maybe just at the end, let's compare how fast the chart loads in BAL-X and in this bot. By clicking here, we see some information about the token. That's not much of it. We see how long ago the token was created, what liquidity it has, what capitalization, what DEX it is currently trading on. By the way, about the time of creation. Those tokens that migrate from PEMFund for a very long time are not particularly suitable for mining. Those tokens that migrate super fast, literally with one candle from PEMFund, are also quite dangerous. I will show you a couple more examples a little later. I would initially recommend that you just watch the token, see how the prices goes, how quickly it is bought off, whether there is organic matter, and only then, after a few minutes, if you have decided that is suitable for you, start trading. About the purchase and sale settings, I can say since we're scalping, a large commission is not suitable for us. It's very important that our commission does not eat up our profit. And basically, if you enter a position at 0.1 Solana and you will have a commission of 0.015 Solana, then you lose 30% of your position only on commission. But I want to say right away that if you set up such a commission in BAL-X and Fasol bot, then it will buy this token much faster. BAL-X may have a transaction. That's why I say that this bot is suitable not only for scalping but also for everyday trading. You can set the commission either with buttons depending on the network workload. Of course, it's better to select either it is slow, fast or turbo, or you can set everything up manually. If you are trading for 3-5 Solanas, then of course the turbo commission is quite suitable for you. We do not enable the JITO function because it slows down the transaction. For those who do not know, JITA is a feature against MEV bots that do not shave you. We will be saved from them by slippage. I also do not recommend installing a large one, as these may affect our profitability. On average, I put a 2-3% slip on the purchase. Select the purchase amount depending on the capitalization of the token and on your financial capabilities, but I recommend starting from 0.3-0.4 Solana. Less will not be particularly profitable and transaction will constantly fail due to small commissions. You can either manually set the purchase amount yourself, which is more convenient for you, or here there are buttons that you can configure through this section. Here you can either add the amount you need or delete it. For example, this does not suit us, we delete it, we want to add it, we create an additional one, and that's it. We go back and then it's convenient to switch here. So settings for sale. Here I would recommend setting a commission about the same as for the purchase. The slippage can be specified from 3 to 5, depending on which token you are trading. It happens that there are very risky tokens and you need to sell the token right away, even if you are in a small disadvantage. And due to this fact that the price goes up and down very much, you may not do this, so in this case it's better to increase the slippage. You also specify how many tokens you want to sell here. But as a rule, if this is a scalping, then 100%, and here you can additionally set up the amount of interest that is convenient for you if you just trade in a token. The limit orders feature is also available in this bot. Personally, I don't use them for scalping, but I know guys who use them quite successfully. To add a limit order, specify if it is conditionally a stop loss. We specify a minus, a certain amount of interest that suits us. Here we specify the number of tokens that we want to sell and click Save. If we want to set a take, then we do the same thing but without a minus sign. And we can also specify the number of tokens and you can set several takes. If, according to your strategy, you can use the same take and stop values in each token, so as not to constantly enter them when you open the token, you can click Make Default and these settings will be automatically work for you in all next tokens. If you want to delete, just delete it and also click Make Default. Speaking about tokens that are suitable for trading, as I said, they should have good volumes as well as distribution. Let's switch to BALX for convenience, since showing it from a computer is not very convenient to watch the graph. Let's open some token that has already migrated and see. There is a volume of $23,000, it's quite small. We also do not see too good dynamics in the token. Let's switch to the market cap. There are no such squeezes that we need to work them out. Of course, it's better to use a minute time frame to select a token. So this way it's visually clear that the token goes up and down and whether there is organic matter in it. It's also important to look at the top holders. Of course, here we see that the top 10 holders have 29%. In general, this is an acceptable value, but it's better to have up to 25% here. And by the way, if less than 10% is also bad. As a rule, these are the tokens that are bought off in bundles for a large number of wallets in small amounts. And then the developers turn on counter trading, which can kill the very dynamics that we need. Let's go back to the migration section and look at some other active token. I don't really like this token either. In fact, you would probably rather record the trading session separately because now it will not be very convenient to trade in parallel explaining. Now let me show you how to buy and sell a token with the bot. After we have found a token suitable for us, we open it, look at its dynamics, we like everything. In general, there is a market that is not heavily loaded and you have a small deposit. So in principle, you can specify even such a commission, it will be enough. And by the way, one more thing, I advise you to replenish the amount of deposit you will use. Basically, if you have 1 Solana entry amount into the transaction, then it's better to top up by 1.2 Solana, for example, so that you have a commission for the transaction itself. Because if you see a good entry point, but for some reason your transaction fails, for example, due to a slippage, you will need to press the buy button several times. So you may have 1 or 2 of the transactions fail. And if the entry point is still relevant to you, you will need to press again. And then the transaction will pass. And if at this moment you have 3 Solanas on your deposit, for example, and you buy for 1, it may be that you buy several times. That's not quite good, it's better to use a strategy like this trader, simply increasing the amount of the transaction each time, depending on how much you have already earned. But here too, look at everything as individually as possible. Someone is practicing certain patterns. For example, someone trades the token only once or twice after migration, because as a rule, there is a fairly good drawdown on the first candle, and then a rebound. And someone trades the token many times. Not all tokens are generally suitable for trading them many times. It's necessary to form your awareness, to refine certain patterns according to your strategy. By patterns, I mean nothing in futures, all sorts of flags, triangles, squares, and so on. And there are certain patterns that can be viewed in certain tokens. And of these patterns, all are different. I have already said the same thing about averaging. If you have no experience, that's better not to take risks. It's better to close the deal in the negative, because I personally use averaging in order to get to zero, if I'm a little bit wrong with the entry point. This needs to be done very quickly, and again, be aware of what you are doing. Be aware how much to average and when. So now let's compare the purchase speed of the bot itself and Bullix. By the way, some people trade like this. They open Fasol bot on one side and on the other side Bullix, but on a minute time frame, in order to understand how the price visually moves. Look at this. I charge a commission of 0.0026, and let's buy in Fasol and in Bullix to compare. So I press buy in Fasol. Well, the deal has already passed. We see that the purchase has been completed. I just pressed it, so it went right away. By the way, about how your position looks at the time of purchase. Firstly, here we see on the chart a mark appears when you bought. And secondly, here we see the volume of the transaction. We have bought 0.1 Solana, and the transaction volume is now less. This way, you can evaluate which PNL you have, or you can go to the position section, and there are open ones here, and here we will see the token now, and here we now see its PNL, the number of tokens that we have bought, and so on. Well, in closed positions, of course, we see our previous deals. And now we're clicking on the sale. So the transaction has been completed, a little slow, but now we have already sold. This video is not accelerated, it's just shot online. Now let's do the same thing, but on Bullix. I indicated the same slippage, the same gas, in that it was for sale, and click buy. By the way, Bullix is also quite well bought now. But when the network load is much higher, Bullix usually fails very badly in this regard. Now let's sell 100% of the position. Click sell. The transaction has been completed. Here the transaction comes. Look, honestly, it turned out to be about the same. Everything happened fast enough now. Also, after closing the deal, we can share PNL. So we click it, you can see a picture which shows where we have bought, where we have sold, what profit we have earned on this transaction. And by the way, by clicking on 3 buttons, if a Telegram or the bot suddenly got stuck, you can update it and everything will be restored. And I completely forgot about quick buy. Let me show you. Let's set up a quick buy. Let the priority fee be like this. We will set the slippage a little less so that we don't get shaved by the math bot. By the way, the developers will soon add a Jito button here, as with a regular purchase. Also, here we can either specify the values for which we can buy, or immediately specify, for example, we need to buy for a certain amount and only for it the purchase will be made. We save the settings and imagine that someone sent us a contract and we urgently need to buy this token. We insert it here, click buy. That's it, the purchase has been completed, right? It has happened quite quickly. And if we move into positions, we'll see our position, here it is, and 0.5 Solana purchase. If we had installed it in the quick buy section, unchecked it here, and left it like this, then we send the token contract, we will have a request for how much we want to buy. So now let's have a look. Here we are choosing and making the same purchase. I think I have already given quite a lot of information on how to scalp. If you like this video, be sure to leave reactions, to write the comments what would you like to consider next. In fact, there is an idea to record a full trading session and show how it all happens in business. Also, in the near future, I will shoot a video separately about these functions. It's pro, it's free, but not everyone has it. But we will speak about this later. It was a pleasure for me to share this information with you. Huggies and have a nice day.